reiterates our deeply rooted conviction that the implementation
إن
of the
الموقف
two-state solution
التاريخي
is the only
لفخامة
way
الرئيس
to achieve
الفرنسي
just and
بالاعتراف بدولة
permanent
فلسطين
peace. The
واتخاذ العديد
historic
من الدول لهذا
position of
الموقف
His
الشجاع
Excellency, the French President, to
والتأييد
recognize the state of
الدولي
Palestine,
الواسع
and the fact
لقرار
that many
الجمعية
countries
العامة
has
للأمم
taken the
المتحدة اعتماد
similar
إعلان نيويورك
courageous position,
بشأن تسوية
and the
قضية
broad
فلسطين بالوسائل
support
السلمية
for the resolution
وتنفيذ
of the
حل
General
الدولتين
Assembly to
الذي
adopt
صوت لصالحه
the declaration, the New York
142 دولة
Declaration on the peaceful settlement of the
يعكس
question of
إرادة المجتمع
Palestine
الدولي
and the implementation of the
في
two-state
إنصاف الشعب
solution
الفلسطيني
that received
وترسيخ حقه
142 votes in
التاريخي
its favor
والقانوني
reflects the will
وفق
of the
المرجعيات
international
الدولية
community
والقرارات
to render
الأممية
justice
ذات
to the
الصلة
Palestinian people
ومبادرة
and
السلام
consolidate their
العربي.
legal historic right in
الحضور
line
الكرام،
with international frameworks
إن المملكة
relevant to
عازمة على
resolutions
مواصلة
and the Arab peace
شراكاتها مع
initiatives.
الجمهورية الفرنسية
The
وجميع
kingdom
الدول
is keen on
الداعية
continuing
للسلام
its partnership
في
with
سبيل متابعة
France and
تنفيذ
all
مخرجات هذا
countries calling
المؤتمر
for peace to follow
لوضع
up on the
حد للحرب
implementation of the
بغزة
outcomes of this
ووقف
conference,
جميع
to put
الإجراءات
an end
الأحادية
to the war in Gaza
التي
and stop
تهدد
all
السيادة
unilateral
الفلسطينية
measures that threaten
والعمل على إنهاء
Palestinian
الصراع في
sovereignty,
المنطقة
to work on
وتجسيد
ending the
الدولة
conflict in the
الفلسطينية
region
المستقلة
and
على
establish the
حدود عام
Palestinian independent state on the
1967 وعاصمتها
1967
القدس الشرقية.
borders with
وفي
East
الختام
Jerusalem as its capital. In
نجدد شكرنا
conclusion,
للدول التي
we
اعترفت
thank
أو
again
أعلنت
those
عزم
countries
الاعتراف
that have
بالدولة
recognized
الفلسطينية
or have announced
وندعو
their
بقية
intention to
الدول
recognize the state
لاتخاذ
of
هذه
Palestine. We
الخطوة
call
التاريخية
all other countries to
التي
take a
سيكون لها
similar
بالغ الأثر
historic
في دعم
step that
الجهود
will have a
باتجاه
great
تنفيذ حل
impact on
الدولتين
supporting the efforts towards the
وتحقيق
implementation of the
السلام
two-state
الدائم
solution,
والشامل في
achieve
منطقة الشرق الأوسط
permanent and comprehensive peace in
وإيجاد
the
واقع
Middle East,
جديد
and
تنعم
find a
فيه
new
المنطقة
reality
بالأمن
whereby the
والاستقرار
region
والازدهار.
can
والسلام
enjoy
عليكم ورحمة
peace,
الله
stability,
وبركاته.
and prosperity. Thank you.
Je remercie Son Altesse le Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saoud.
His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin
J'invite à
Salman
présent Son Excellence M. Antonio Guterres,
Saud, and now invite His
Secrétaire
Excellency
général de
Mr. Antonio
l'Organisation des
Guterres,
Nations
Secretary
Unies,
General of the United
à
Nations
faire une
Organization,
déclaration.
to issue a statement.
Distinguished co-chairs, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the government of France and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for convening this international conference on implementing the two-state solution. I also want to acknowledge the Palestinian delegation and once again note my disappointment that they were denied the opportunity to be fully represented. Excellencies, let's have no illusions. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has gone unresolved for generations. Dialogue has faltered. Resolutions have been flouted. International law has been breached. Decades of diplomacy have come up short. The situation is intolerable and it is deteriorating by the hour. We are here today to help navigate the only way out of this nightmare, a two-state solution, where two independent, sovereign, democratic states, Israel and Palestine, live side by side in peace and security with their secure and recognized borders on the basis of pre-1967 lines, with Jerusalem as the capital of both states, in line with international law, UN resolutions, and other relevant agreements. I welcome the measures many member states are taking to galvanize support for the two-state solution, including the pledges to recognize the state of Palestine. And I welcome the General Assembly's endorsement of the New York Declaration. Excellencies, nothing can justify the horrific 7 October terror attacks by Hamas or the taking of hostages, both of which I have repeatedly condemned. And nothing can justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people or any form of ethnic cleansing, the systematic decimation of Gaza, the starvation of the population, the killing of tens of thousands of civilians, most of them women and children, and hundreds of our own humanitarians. I call once again for an immediate and permanent ceasefire, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and the immediate, full, safe, unconditional, and unhindered humanitarian access. Excellencies, nothing can also excuse developments in the West Bank that pose an existential threat to a two-state solution. The relentless expansion of settlements, the creeping threat of annexation, the intensification of settler violence, all of it must stop. The situation is morally, legally, and politically intolerable. We must recommit ourselves to the two-state solution before it is too late. A solution in which two independent, contiguous, democratic, viable, and sovereign states are mutually recognized and fully integrated into the international community. Excellencies, those who stand in the way are obligated to answer a fundamental question. What is the alternative? A one-state scenario where Palestinians are denied basic rights, expelled from their homes and their land, forced to live under perpetual occupation, discrimination, and subjugation? How is this possible in the 21st century? How is it acceptable? This is neither peace nor justice. It will only increase the growing isolation of Israel on the global stage, and let's be clear, statehood for the Palestinians is a right, not a reward. And denying statehood would be a gift to extremists everywhere. Without two states, there will be no peace in the Middle East, and radicalism will spread around the world. Excellences,
Excellencies, this conference must mark a turning point. It must pave the way for irreversible progress to put an end to the illegal occupation and to make good on our collective aspiration for a two-state solution. All of this is fully in line with adherence to international law. It has been approved by the General Assembly and supported by the international community. It is the only credible path towards a just and lasting peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and the only credible path towards peace and security throughout the Middle East as a whole. This will demand difficult decisions be taken from us all. This will demand courage and leadership based on principles from all sides. I urge you to do everything in your power to allow the two-state solution to prevail. This for the people of Israel, Palestine, and for humankind as a whole. I thank you. I thank the Secretary General of the United Nations Organization. I now invite Her Excellency Annalena Baerbock, President of the General Assembly, to make a statement.
Your Excellency President Emmanuel Macron, Your Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Your Highness Prince Faisal bin Farhan, Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies. Taking over the presidency of the General Assembly, I received many letters. One moved me deeply. Attached to it were drawings by 3 Palestinian children, Remas, Enas, and Retal. The images were heartbreaking. One showed a school before and after, beneath a bright sun and a blue, clear sky. In the first, the school with open doors, and happiness. In the second, their school lies in rubble. A lone boy stands on the debris of what must be once have been his safe place. Perhaps he had a favorite class, a favorite teacher, like our children, a best friend he played with there. Now, all of it is gone. All of the laughter of the children blown away. At that age, children should not be drawing pictures of war. Children should be learning mathematics. They should be playing with friends and scratch dragons or castles, not death and destruction. Yet, for the children of Gaza, this is their reality. Their horror lasted and lasts for over 700 days. Tens of thousands have lost their lives. Tens of thousands of dreams which never will come true. So many killed without the world even learning their names. Until we heard one voice so loud we could not overhear it. The voice of Hind Rajab, captured in a phone call with a red crescent while shelling rained down. After the car she was in was attacked over and over again, killing her aunt, uncle, and 3 of her cousins next to her. She called over and over again, "I'm so scared, please come." The rescuers tried to calm her as they tried to reach her. They could not. Hind was killed before help arrived. The world failed her. As the world has also failed Kfir Bas and his brother Ariel. Kfir was just 9 months old, the youngest child abducted by Hamas on October 7th, taken with his 4-year-old brother Ariel and their mother. Both were killed in Gaza by terrorists. The world will remember their names as symbols of innocent childhood stolen by terror. I've met with the families of the hostages, fathers, mothers, siblings, aunts, grandparents, still waiting for their loved ones to come home from wherever Hamas is holding them after more than 700 days. I've also met with Palestinian families, fathers, mothers, siblings, aunts, and grandparents, whose loved ones are buried in the ruins of Gaza. Their message is always the same: we want peace. Or as one Israeli mother told me, "It does not bring my child back if a Palestinian mother loses her child in Gaza." Humanity is not about choosing sides. It's about recognizing that every life matters the same. A life is a life. A Palestinian girl's life is a life. An Israeli boy's life is a life. All the children of the Middle East deserve to grow up knowing only the sun shining on their schools, the laughter of their friends in the playground, and the joy of a meal shared with their families. Not the horrors of starvation, not the horrors of war and terror. Excellencies, the General Assembly has been very clear. We need an immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire in Gaza now. Israel must immediately facilitate the full, rapid, safe, and unhindered entry and delivery of humanitarian assistance to all Palestinian civilians. Hamas must immediately and unconditionally release all remaining hostages. But the horrors of Gaza make equally clear that we cannot allow such devastation to happen again. While the situation in Gaza is unacceptable, settlement expansions and demolitions in the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem, are eroding any prospects for a political solution. The decade-long Israeli-Palestinian conflict cannot be resolved by endless war, permanent occupation, and recurrent terror. The only way to ensure that future generations of both Palestinians and Israelis can live in peace, security, and dignity is the two-state solution. As the Secretary General said, it's a right, not a reward, to live in your own state, as all humans around the world. We know that some think this is naive. The first resolution on this matter is almost as old as this organization. 78 years ago, the General Assembly adopted Resolution 181, laying the foundation for two states, knowing it's the only way for peace. And to those of you who argue now, but we have tried for decades and failed over and over again, there can be only one answer. If we would stop aiming for what is right because we have not succeeded yet, then evil would prevail. That would be the end of this institution. This institution which promised to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. It would erode the UN's foundational mission to achieve peace, justice, and equal rights for both Israelis and Palestinians. Excellencies, that is what today's conference and the New York Declaration are so crucial. The message we are sending today is no, we are not giving up. The international community does not only remain committed to the two-state solution, we are also identifying tangible, time-bound, and irreversible steps for its realization. And we are willing to take decisive measures and provide international guarantees. Of course, this conference and the New York Declaration will face criticism. Some will say a piece of paper cannot change realities on the grounds for Palestinians. Others will dismiss the vision of two states outright. But the fact remains, the New York Declaration was endorsed by 142 member states. And this majority clearly says the war in Gaza must end now. It condemns the attacks committed by Hamas against civilians on 7th of October. It condemns the attacks by Israel against civilians and civilian infrastructure in Gaza. It calls on Hamas to end its rule in Gaza and hand over its weapons. A sovereign and viable state of Palestine needs to be established, living side by side with the state of Israel in peace and security, with mutually recognized borders and full regional integration. Excellencies, the call for peace and the two-state solution is not an abstract. Not for the children watching missiles destroy their school. Not for the families waiting for news that their sons and daughters might be released from captivity. Not for the UN staff in Gaza who have witnessed their colleagues shot. Not for those who have been injured or maimed and will have to live with the trauma of this conflict for the rest of their life. It's an aspiration, but it's also an obligation. We owe it to the memory of Fint, Kriya, and Ariel, and the many, many others. And we owe it to the children like Rimas, Enas, and Rital, and all the children of Palestine and all the children of Israel, hoping for a better tomorrow, so that they may not inherit rubble, grief, and despair, but safety, dignity, and hope, to live one day in peace, side by side.
Je remercie Madame la Présidente
I thank
de l'Assemblée
the
générale.
President of the General Assembly.
J'invite à présent Son
And now
Excellence Monsieur
invite
Mahmoud
His
Abbas, Président de
Excellency
l'État de
Mahmoud
Palestine,
Abbas,
à faire sa
President of the
déclaration
State
par
of Palestine,
visioconférence.
to deliver a statement via video conference.
شكرا. بسم الله الرحيم. فخامة
Thank you.
الرئيس إيمانويل ماكرون
Your Excellency, President
صاحب
Emmanuel
السمو
Macron,
الملكي الأمير محمد بن
Your
سلمان
Royal
آل
Highness
سعود،
Prince Mohammed bin Salman
سمو
Al Saud,
الأمير فيصل بن فرحان وزير خارجية
Your Highness
السعودية،
Prince Saud,
معالي
Faisal
الأمين
bin
العام
Farhan, Minister of
للأمم
Foreign Affairs, Your
المتحدة
Excellency
أنطونيو غوتيريس،
Antonio Guterres, the
القادة
Secretary General of the
ورؤساء
United
الوفود
Nations,
الكرام،
distinguished
السلام
leaders and
عليكم
heads of
ورحمة
delegations,
الله
peace, mercy, and
وبركاته.
blessings of God be upon you.
أعبر باسم دولة
On behalf
فلسطين
of the State of
عن بالغ
Palestine,
التقدير
I would like to
للرئاسة
express my
المشتركة
deepest appreciation
وللأمم
for the
المتحدة
co-presidency,
ولكل الدول
the United
المشاركة
Nations, and
على
all
ما صدر عن
participating
مؤتمر
states
يوليو من إعلان
for the
نيويورك
historic New
التاريخي
York
الذي
Declaration
أقرته
that was
الجمعية
issued
العامة
during July's
بأغلبية
conference
ساحقة
and adopted by the
إذانا
General Assembly
ببدء
by an
خطوات لا
overwhelming
رجعة
majority.
عنها
It marked the
لإنهاء
beginning of an
الكارثة
irreversible path
الإنسانية
towards ending
وإنهاء
the
الاحتلال
humanitarian
وفق
catastrophe
الشرعية
and
الدولية
ending occupation
ومبادرة
pursuant
السلام
to international
العربية
legitimacy and the
وتجسيد
Arab
دولة
Peace
فلسطين
Initiative. It was
المستقلة
the embodiment of an
بعاصمتها
independent
القدس
state of
الشرقية
Palestine
إلى
with
جانب
East Jerusalem
دولة
as its capital,
إسرائيل
living
في
side by
أمن
side with Israel
وسلام
in peace,
وحسن جوار.
security, and good neighborliness.
لقد أكد الإعلان
The
أن
declaration
الحرب على
stressed
شعبنا
that the war
يجب
against
أن
our people
تتوقف
must
فوراً
come to an
وبشكل
immediate
مستدام
and durable
وأن
end.
جرائم الحصار
It noted that the
والتجويع
crimes
والتدمير
emanating from the siege, the
يمكن أن
starvation, and
تكون
destruction
وسيلة
cannot be
لتحقيق
a means
الأمن.
of achieving
لذلك
security.
نطالب بوقف
Therefore,
دائم
we call
لإطلاق
for a
النار
permanent
وضمان
ceasefire.
إدخال المساعدات
We need to
الإنسانية
ensure
عبر
humanitarian
الأمم
access
المتحدة
through the United Nations and UNRWA.
والإفراج عن
We
الرهائن
need to guarantee the
والأسرى
release
جميعا
of hostages, all
وانسحاب
hostages
قوات
and prisoners,
الاحتلال من
with the
غزة
withdrawal of the occupation
والبدء
forces
بإعادة
from Gaza.
الإعمار
We
دون
need a
تأخير
start
في
without
غزة
delay